Hello, good day guys. This is the Scrub Nurse PH presenting you my second out of 5 topics about laparoscopy for nurses. And today we are going to tackle the laparoscopy tower setup and instrumentation. We are going to discuss the separate components of laparoscopy tower and identify each laparoscopy instrument. So to start this off, let us discuss the laparoscopy tower setup. This is how a laparoscopy tower should look like. The monitor is placed on top. Below it is the camera processor, light source, insufflator, and suction irrigation machine. Here, notice there is no energy device in this setup. Well, from my experience, it is best to separate the cautery machine from the laparoscopic tower. This is to prevent static and ground from the other machines. In my previous observations, a separate stand is best for the energy device. So first in my list is the video monitor for laparoscopy. The monitor is the medium through which the surgeon interacts. The majority of the time in a laparoscopy procedure, the surgeon would only look at the monitor. Everything around it is the nurse's job to regulate and tidy up. The goal of the monitor is to project images that are soothing to the eye, without sacrificing depth and clarity. This is because the surgeon's training and familiarization with the depth and instrumentation in laparoscopy should not be straining to the eye. So if the monitor strains us, we should just adjust the filter and other surroundings because it also entails that our surgeon's eyes are straining. There are 3 grade qualities of a monitor. One is consumer grade, where it has the least detail. I don't recommend this for laparoscopy today, but in some parts of the world, consumer grade monitors are still being used. I don't mean you can't use this type of monitor. I just think it is inferior to the next kind of monitor used in laparoscopy. Second is the commercial grade, which has a slightly higher resolution than of a consumer grade. Lastly is the medical grade monitor, which in my own opinion is the best resolution for hospital use. In most monitors today, you can visualize and appreciate the vessels and organs better with an HD display. A cathode ray tube or the CRT type of monitor has a slow frame rate. This means it might not be safe to operate with this kind of monitor because some quarter of a second might lag in the display and might end badly for the patient. A liquid crystal display or an LCD would lessen eye strain. It has little to no glare and has more options for input and output connections. On one hand, high-definition monitors display images as progressive scans, which avoids flicker and appearance of black lines. These screens are only compatible with HDMI and DVI connections. On the other hand, Full HD is capable of projecting the image in full screen. The standard distance of an observer from the tower is 4 to 5 times the height of the monitor. More on this will be tackled on our ergonomics lecture. Our next topic will be about the camera unit and the head camera. A camera is a system that converts and transmits real images into digital images in a laparoscope to the monitor. There are 8 main functions of the processor. First main function is the white balance. This sets the video output to white. Another main function is what we call gain. This permits artificial amplification of the video signal for underexposed images. A drawback is that sometimes it would make the video grainy. Third main function of the processor is the shutter. This decreases the brightness when the light is too strong. Fourth function is the autofocus. This automatically focuses the camera according to the distance between it and an object. However, this is rarely used. There is a specialty function in the processor. These are the factory presets digital image processing parameters for different kinds of surgeries. Enhancement permits an increase in contrast and improvement of outlines of the image. Another function is the zoom, and it literally just does a digital zoom on the display. Last main function of the processor is an image capture. This is where you can record your video and take snapshots of important steps in laparoscopy. Okay, next let us talk about the light source unit and cable. I just want to emphasize that handling the unit and cable should be dealt with extreme care. My seniors taught me not to coil it too tight because there are millions of fibers inside the cable that are too brittle. Also, there is a bulb inside the unit, so be careful not to break it. The ideal light source for laparoscopy is approximately that of the sunlight, or 5800 Kelvin. And also has a power greater than 250 watts. Here are some types of light source lamps. We have xenon, halogen, and LED lamps. These are safe for laparoscopy and are used in different kinds of light sources like microscopes. Okay, now let us talk about the insufflator. An insufflator supplies the CO2 used to insufflate the abdomen to create a working space, or what we call a pseudo cavity inside the patient. The CO2 pump should be a high flow pump with both low and high flow settings. So why do we use carbon dioxide to insufflate the patient? Why don't we use standard oxygen instead? Well, one reason is that carbon dioxide is non-combustible. We use cautery systems, and when zapped, it might create combustion. Carbon dioxide is highly soluble in the blood. This decreases the chance of air embolism in the body. So what are the pearls of insufflation? Number 1 is pressure should not be confused with flow rate. Pressure is measured as mmHg, or millimeters mercury, and flow rate is measured by liters per minute. Number 2, pressure should not exceed 15 millimeters mercury. Anything above that may cause tamponade to the patient. Third, the flow rate could be anywhere from 10 to 40 liters per minute. Fourth, pressure should be maintained at the lowest possible level to create an adequate working space where the surgeon can perform safely and effectively. It might compromise the safety of the patient if the surgeon only has a limited space for surgery. Lastly, pressure should be maintained between 10 to 12 millimeters mercury. Next on our list is a video recorder, and this is a machine that records the procedure. It is saved digitally so we can watch the footage after. Suction and irrigation system. We use this to irrigate and remove fluids from the body. This should always be ready for the surgeon to anticipate emergencies for bleeding. Next on our list are energy devices. We use this to plug our cauteries and other advanced cautery system. As I said earlier, I advise that we place this to another stand to prevent annoyance in the feed of the monitor. Now, let us talk about the different laparoscopy instruments and their uses. The laparoscopic hand instruments are generally comprised of 3 parts: the insert or tip, shaft or sleeve, and lastly is the handle. Most laparoscopic hand instruments can be disassembled for cleaning and replacement purposes. More on disassembly on my next videos. These instruments facilitate grasping, manipulation, retraction, and exposure of structure, dissection and transection of tissues. Dissectors are mostly used for exposing a vessel. There are 3 types: Maryland, Dolphin, and right angle dissector. Shears, on the other hand, is used to cut tough spots, expose and cut vessels as well. It can be straight or curved, single action or double action. There's also a variety of graspers used in laparoscopy. But for functionality, I would always look at it if it's toothed or not. Serrated and claw graspers are used to grasp specimen and organs that are to be removed from the body, while non-toothed graspers like regular and dorsey graspers are used to grasp delicate organs, especially the bowels. Sometimes they are called bowel graspers. The spoon is used to collect specimen laparoscopically. There are also different kinds of electrosurgical instruments. These are the most common ones. This is called an L-hook. A curved version of this is called the J-hook. Another is a suction irrigation cautery, or sometimes called ball. It has three functions. It can suction a bleeder and cauterize it simultaneously. Staplers used laparoscopically is always a sight to see. There are lots of staplers in the market. Their function is to staple organs or vessels together. Next are tackers. These bad boys are used to place a mesh intact for a herniorrhapy. Just a quick tip in hernia repair: always make sure that the equipment to be used is of the highest sterility. Do not use soap tackers when doing this procedure. Okay, now let's talk about trocars. There are different kinds of trocars with different kinds of uses in laparoscopy. So when do we hand them over? Okay, the best guide to this is when there is no direct visualization of the organs. You should always hand over a blunt trocar. When there is visualization by the use of laparoscopy, then you can give a sharp trocar. A Hassan is ideal for surgeons to be the first trocar. Sharp trocars like the conical and pyramidal can come after it. Next are needle drivers. These are used to hold the needles when suturing during laparoscopy. It may have a left-handed needle driver, right-handed, and ambidextrous needle driver. This depends on what the surgeon likes to use. So if you're not familiar with the surgeon, it doesn't hurt to ask what they would want to use. Clip applicators. There is a variety of clip applicators according to size. There's a small, a medium large, a large, and extra large. Also, it can vary from plastic to metal clips. These are used to clip vessels. You should always have this in any laparoscopy procedure. It can clip bleeders and save the patient's life during an emergency. Lastly, on our hand instruments is the suction irrigation system. It can be in the shape of a wand or a gun. Again, it depends on what your surgeon is most likely accustomed with. This is used to water down and suck fluids from the body. Thank you for staying and listening to this lecture. If you have any questions, feel free to ask us. Please do like the video, share, and click that notification bell. Thank you. This is the Scrub Nurse PH endorsing out.